Hello, welcome. In this video, we are going to work on a practice where we develop our springs. So jumping, moving into the air, taking flight. Now, when we jump, we are adding progressively more load. When we take a jump up and land back down, that's almost the force of twice of your body weight landing back, settling back into your springs. If jumping doesn't feel right for your body today, then you're welcome to take other options. We'll progressively build towards adding that springiness in a few different asanas. You're always welcome to take the previous option if hopping doesn't feel right for your joints, for your tissues today. I don't have any props set up near my mat, but I will at the end of the class give the option for using a wall. If you have wall space available, bring the short end of your mat towards the wall, the back of the mat. And we'll begin today standing at the back of the mat, facing forward. And from there, just taking a couple breaths to let your body settle into mountain pose. Shifting the weight a little side to side and forward and back. And as you shift the weight, feeling how that creates sensations in different parts of your feet, outer feet, inner feet, heels, balls of the feet, toes. And then when you're ready, coming to a place that feels centered side to side, front to back, and then lift all 10 toes up and spread them wide. And as the toes are lifted, feeling how that creates an energetic lift in the arch of your foot. And when you're ready, placing the toes back down, but allowing that energetic arch of your foot to stay lifted. From there, when you feel ready, we're going to start to lift the heels slowly up, coming onto the balls of the feet and the toes, and then we'll bring the heels slowly back down. And we'll do this a few times, and as the heels lift, feeling how the rest of your body calibrates. And as the heels come up and down, can you imagine that the center of your heel is coming straight up and straight back down, as best you can, eliminating any wobble of the heel in and out. And then the next time you lift up onto the balls of your feet and your toes, we're going to hold here for a few breaths, just observing how the body feels in that held position. All those little micro calibrations that your body's doing to isometrically hold you here. And then when you're ready, the heels with control come back down. From there, heel toe the inner line of your legs closer together. Find a bend at your knee and a bend at your hips to bring your hands just on top of your legs. From there, we'll find some circles with the knees. The circles could be big or small. And as the knees circle, notice again how that creates sensation in different parts of your feet. And then find the opposite direction. And as the knees are circling, you'll find that the hips move as well. And then from there, pressing into the feet, come back up to stand. Weight shifts onto the left foot, right knee comes up. Keeping the knee where it is, we're going to start to circle the foot. And so the knee tries to hold the position in space, and we make big circles with the right foot. Opposite direction. And then the right foot comes back down, left knee comes up, roughly at the height of the hip, and we start to make circles. Circles fairly big, and then opposite direction, trying to keep that left knee roughly where it is in space. And then the left foot comes back down a little bit wider than hip distance apart. Hands will come to the hips, and we'll make some big circles with the hips. And as the hips trace this big circle or hula hoop, feeling again the different parts of pressure created on the feet, and then opposite direction. One more big circle. And then coming back up to stand. Now from here, we're going to start to bend at the knees, bend at the hips, finding a little squat movement and back up. And as you squat, letting the arms move in any position where it feels natural. So depending on the proportions of your body, arms forward might find a little bit more counterbalance for your hips. Maybe the arms going wider, or maybe keeping the hands on the outer hips feels steadier for you. And as you bend the knees and bend at the hips, just feeling this pumping action in the legs. Finding another 1 or 2 squats here. And then coming up to stand, option to start to hop on both feet. And if hopping doesn't feel good, you can think of just finding a little bit of that springiness. That same action, knees bending, hips bending a bit, adding the lift of the heels. If hopping feels good, then start to find a little hop. And as you hop, feeling the springiness and feeling how your body presses up but also absorbs as you land back down. And then coming back to stand. Reposition yourself in mountain pose. Arms can drop by your side. And just feeling the impact of the springiness, whether or not you were hopping, whether or not you were bending. Taking another full breath in. Out your mouth, clearing breath out. And then as you inhale next, arms will lift up. Exhale, folding at the hips, come all the way down. Inhale, lengthen halfway up. Exhale, bend your knees enough, plant your hands. Inhale, the hands will walk forward, lengthening the body into a plank position. And then exhale, slowly with control, will come down, and the knees might come down first. Tops of the feet plant down. Inhale, find a low cobra. And then exhale, lower all the way back down. Hands and knees press to tabletop. Exhale, curl your toes, let your hips lift up and back into downward dog. As you inhale, right leg comes up. Exhale, step the right foot towards your right hand. Inhale, come up into a high lunge, arms coming into whatever position feels natural. And then as you exhale, find a little bend in the back knee and deepen the bend in your front knee. As you inhale, both knees start to straighten high on the back toes. Exhale, both knees bend. Inhale, they straighten. And exhale, they bend. One more time. Inhaling, straighten. And exhaling to bend, bringing your hands down to frame the right foot. Inhale, step back to downward facing dog. And as you exhale, soften the lines of your neck. Inhale, left foot comes up. Exhale, step the left foot to the top of the mat. Inhale up to high lunge, arms where it feels spacious in your shoulders. Exhale, bend both knees, especially the back one. Inhale, press into your feet to straighten. And exhale to bend. Inhale to straighten, high on the back toes. Exhale to bend. One more time. Inhale to straighten. And exhale to bend, planting your hands down. Inhale to downward facing dog. As you exhale, walking your hands back towards your feet. When your heels are heavy, inhale, lengthen halfway up. Exhale, soften the knees, forward bend. Inhale, press into your feet, come all the way up, sweeping the arms up. Exhale, lower the arms down by your sides. As you inhale, lift high up onto your toes. Exhale, slowly the heels come back down. Inhale, come into a squat. Exhale, press down with your feet, come back up to stand. Find this a few more times, inhaling to squat, exhaling to stand. Now from there, continuing with this motion of a squat and starting to get a little springier. As you come to stand, heels might lift a little. Just sort of experiencing again this springiness in our joints. And if hopping felt good, the next time you come up from your squat, you'll add a little hop and land in your squat. And again, finding this springiness and feeling how your tissues absorb the landing. One more time. And then from there, folding down over your legs. Inhale, lengthen halfway up. Exhale, fold, plant your palms. Inhale, hands walk forward to plank pose. And exhale to lower down. Inhale, tops of the feet root, baby cobra. Exhale to lower down. Inhale, two hands and knees. Exhale, curl your toes, hips go up and back to downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up. Exhale, right foot steps to the top. Inhale, come up, high lunge. Exhale, bend both knees. Inhale to straighten. And exhale to bend. Inhale to straighten. And exhale to bend. Now this time as you inhale, weight shifts onto the right foot. Bring your left knee up in front of your hip. And then inhale, we step back to high lunge with the bent knee. Shift forward, left knee comes up. Stepping back to high lunge. Moving the arms in any way that feels natural to counterbalance the motion. Let's try that one more time. Then next time you step back into the lunge, hands come down, downward facing dog. Taking a breath in downward dog. And then when you're ready, left leg lifts, three-legged dog. Exhale, left foot steps to the top. Pressing into the feet, come up, high lunge. As you exhale, bend both knees. Inhale to straighten, finding that pump again of your legs. And exhale to bend. Inhale to straighten. Exhale to bend. One more time, inhale to straighten. Exhale to bend. This time we lean into the left foot, come up with the right knee to stand on the left foot. Exhale, we go back to the lunge with bent knees. Inhale, we come forward, standing on the left foot. And again, arms wherever it feels balancing for you. Moving with your rhythm of breath. Try that one more time. And the next time you're in that lunge, hands come down, stepping back to downward dog. Taking a breath in downward dog. And then as you're ready, hands will walk back towards the feet. Once the weight is in the heels, use your next inhale, slide the arms up the legs, lengthen tail to crown, and exhale, fold down over the legs. Inhale, come all the way back up to stand, arms sweep up. Exhale, lower the arms down by the sides. Taking a breath or so in mountain pose. Energizing up again through the arches of the feet. From there, when your next inhale comes, heels lift up. And exhale, the heels come down. One more time. Inhale, heels come up. Exhale, down. Adding the squat. Inhale, down. and exhale up. Option to stay with the squat, maybe adding that bouncier motion of the heels coming up. Maybe if that feels okay, adding the squat hop. And again, if you're landing, how can you use your tissues to spring up? How can you use your tissues to absorb the landing? One more movement, and then from the squat, we fold over the legs. This time, take a few breaths to hang in your forward fold. Feet might heel toe a little wider. Arms might be hanging. When you're ready, one more breath in and a breath out. Inhale, come halfway up, pressing off your leg bones, lengthen armpits forward, and exhale to fold. Inhale, walking the hands forward into plank pose, and exhale, lowering down to the front of the body. Tops of the feet heavy. Inhale, lifting low cobra, and exhale to lower down. Inhale to hands and knees. Curl your toes. Exhale, lengthen your hips up and back to downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up. Exhale, right foot steps forward. Inhale brings us up into the lunge. Then from there, as we exhale, both knees bend. Inhale, they straighten, and exhale, they bend. Now, option to stay with this pattern, or adding as you inhale, coming to stand, left knee in front of the hip. And the exhale takes us back to the bent knee lunge. Now, if hopping has been working for you, and you want to add a one-legged hop here, then the next time you come up with the left knee in front of the hip, we'll add a little hop on the right foot. And again, arms doing whatever the arms need to do. And one more time if you're hopping. And then once you're back in that lunge shape, hands come down, stepping back to downward dog. Taking a breath in downward dog. And when you feel ready, inhale can sweep the left leg up. Exhale, it steps to the top. Inhale, come up, lunge. From there, back knee bends. Staying with this pattern of bending and straightening the knees, feeling the springiness of your legs. Or from the bent position, weight into the left foot, right knee comes up, and we step back. If you're adding the hop, bringing the right knee up, hopping on that left foot. Whatever arm position works for you in any of the movements. And if you're hopping, maybe one more. Stepping back, hands come down, downward dog. Walking the hands back to your feet and taking a few breaths in a forward fold. Arms could be dangling, head might hang. One more breath in and a breath out. And then inhale, sliding your hands up your legs, lengthen. And exhale to fold. Inhale, press into your feet, come all the way up, arms lift up. And exhale, lower your arms down by your sides, mountain pose. taking a couple breaths into Tadasana. Feeling the four corners of the feet pressing down, and that corresponding energy from the arch of the foot lifting up through your body. Now from there, you're welcome to stay exactly as you are. I'm just going to turn to face the camera so it's a little bit easier to see. From here, we're going to come into a little squat position again. No hopping this time. And then back up to stand. Making that movement a little slower, feeling again the shift, maybe where you feel more weight in your feet. Using the arms to counterweight your hips as they go back in space, or to help create a feeling of hugging inwards. And then the next time you come up to stand, we're going to keep the left foot in contact with the ground and bring the right leg up into tree pose without using the hands. Wherever that right leg can land without using the right arm to place the foot. Deciding again where you want to place the hands. It could be on the outer hips, they could be wide, you could bring them overhead. Taking a couple breaths, feeling the four corners of the left foot, feeling the energy of the arch of the left foot traveling up the body. And then our transition is going to be to come into a squat. The right foot lands, we bend the left knee as we do that. We're back in our squat, come all the way back up to tree pose, placing that right foot again. We do that a couple times, squatting, placing the right foot for tree. 2 more. And so even without hopping, feeling the springiness of your joints. And then from here, come back into your squat, fold over your legs, soften into that forward fold. Generous bend in your knees to create a little bit more freedom through the back of your body. Taking one more breath in and a breath out. Hands slide up your legs, inhale to lengthen, and exhale to fold. Inhale, press into your feet, come all the way up, lift your arms. Exhale, release them down by your side. Weight shifts onto the right foot, left foot lifts into tree. And pausing there, deciding where you want to place your hands. Energizing down through the right foot to create that corresponding lift in and up. From there, we move into the squat, releasing the foot as you bend your standing leg, and then we spring back up into tree. Landing in the squat, springing into tree. Let me try that a couple times. You see where the arms feel best. 1 more. And then this time, landing in your squat, fold over your legs, heavy through your shoulders, heavy through your skull. When you're ready, inhale, lengthen halfway up. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands. Inhale, walk forward, plank pose. Exhale, knees first or not, lower down. Inhale, charge your toenails down as you lift the chest. And exhale to lower down. Inhale through hands and knees. Curl your toes, exhale up and back into downward dog. Inhale, the right leg lifts. Exhale, step the right foot forward into the lunge. Inhale, come up, high lunge. Now from here, we've looked at a few different options. We had the bending and the straightening of the knees. We had the lift up, knee in front of the hip. We had the knee in front of the hip and a little hop. You're welcome to explore whichever of those options were interesting, or you might add a hop in our lunge. And if we're hopping in the lunge, we bend both knees, we hop and land, letting the body absorb the impact of the landing. 2 more movements. And then from there, letting your hands come down, stepping back to downward dog. Finding a couple breaths in downward dog, maybe the head wiggles, maybe pedal the feet. When you're ready, left leg lifts to 3-legged dog. Exhale, step it to the top. Feet press down to rise into high lunge. And then from there, deciding, maybe bending and straightening the knees, maybe doing the last variation, knee up, or we add the spring in high lunge. If you're hopping, maybe 1 or 2 more, and then landing your hands, coming back to downward dog. Taking a few breaths in downward dog, or if the forward fold is a more restful position, you could walk the hands back and come into a forward bend. Finding a few breaths to release, letting go of any tension that's not necessary, maybe a shake of the head, a wiggle of the shoulders. And then when you're ready, we're going to come into a tabletop position, either lowering the knees from downward dog or walking the hands forward from the forward fold into our tabletop position. From there in our tabletop, we're going to think of finding a few rounds of cat and cow. And as we move through spinal extension and flexion, just feeling the body opening and closing as you move. And then coming back to our tabletop position, letting the fingerprints spread wide on your mat, and then letting them grip down a little bit as if you were trying to pull all 10 fingers towards the heel of your hand. From there, lift your thumbs up, and we're going to start to let the heels of the hands lift up and slowly lower back down. And just like when we lifted the heels of our feet, we're going to think of the heels of the hands coming straight up and down. And if this feels too intense in this position, hands can walk a little closer towards your knees, letting the weight come back a little bit more over your legs, or the hands come a little bit further forward, shifting more weight over top of your hands. And that'll make the exercise feel a little bit more challenging. And again, thinking of the heels of the hands coming straight up, elbows stay straight if you can, lifting just onto that first knuckle of your fingers. Trying another 1 or so more. And then from there, walk your hands back, sitting on your shins, give your wrist a little shake. And then from there, letting your fingers curl in so your thumbs are wrapping around your fingernails, and then we'll flick the fingers wide, almost as if you were flicking water off of your hands. And as we flick the fingers, we're going to start to move a little bit faster. And as we flick here, at some point your fingers might not want to straighten as much as they did when we first started as they fatigue. And so as we flick, really trying to do this with the same amount of energy, spreading the fingers wide as we flick for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Releasing the hands down. We'll come back again into our tabletop position. You might move through a few rounds of cat-cow. You might circle the rib cage around. And just maybe noticing this tabletop feeling a little bit different. After we springified, that's not a word, but after we really felt some of that springiness of the tissues in our hands, our wrists, our forearms, And then from there, when you're ready, coming back to tabletop, and you're welcome to find again that lift of the heels of the hands, or if the springiness of your arms is feeling good, then we might bend the elbows and find a little hop off our hands, and then we land. And the closer the hands are to the knees, the more weight stays in the lower body. The further the hands are forward, the more the weight goes onto the front of the body, the springier our tissues need to be. Finding one or two more. And then from there, let the weight shift back towards your legs, coming up onto your fingerprints, giving the heels of your hands, your wrists a little break. Head can hang between the arms. Taking a couple breaths here. And then from here, as you're ready, heels of the hands can land again, shifting forward to curl your toes. Let your hips lift up and back into downward dog. From our downward dog, we're going to turn our feet out onto a 45, walking our hands back as we bend the knees to land in a malasana squat towards the back of the mat. And again, you can stay where you are. I'm going to turn just so it's a little bit easier to see. Now from this malasana squat, your heels might be down, your heels could also be lifted, doesn't really matter. Using the fingertips on the ground, on your mat for a little bit of support, and just letting your body find this lower position to gravity in your squat. Now from here, we're going to let our hands come a little bit forward, shoulder distance apart, and then we'll let the body shift forward, lifting the hips up high, coming into a very short downward doggish position. And then we'll let the knees bend, the hips bend, we come back to our malasana, hands lift. And we'll do this a couple times, shifting the weight onto the hands, hips come up, maybe lifting high up onto your tippy toes, and then with control, heels lower, knees bend, hips lower, arms come up. Now, you are welcome to stick to this variation. Or if some of this responsive springiness is feeling good, the next time you shift forward, let just your left hand come down, lifting up high, right arm might lift up by your side. And then bending the knees, coming back down, malasana, and then try that on the other side. Now, the further your hands move away from you, the more that might change how the rest of the tissues respond to that load. So you might start to experiment with where you place the hand. Maybe you take the hand down a little narrower. Maybe you take it out a little wider. Try that one more time each side, left side, right side. And then from there, fingertips can come further back under the shoulders. Let your hips lift, turn your toes forward to come into a wider foot, forward bend. Knees can be quite soft. Releasing the weight of your shoulders, letting them sink down with gravity. Taking another breath or so here. And then when you're ready, let's actually all turn so that you're facing lengthwise or to the long side of your mat. Turn your toes out again, come into that 45, landing in a malasana, facing the side of the room at the back of the mat. Options again, maybe placing both hands down and lifting the hips. Maybe you're experimenting with the one hand down and lifting the hips. Or we're going to start to add a little progression towards cartwheels. If you're progressing, then we're going to take the hands a little towards the middle of the mat, lifting the hips up, stepping your feet one at a time. Hands walk towards the front, hips lift up, feet step. Depending on the length of your hops, the length of your mat, the length of your room, at some point you'll come back again, moving in the opposite direction. Now, you might be staying quite low to the ground, or you might be starting to lift your hips, lift your legs a little higher. Maybe you start to make the movement a little bit more fluid, almost imagining you could hover before you land. Try one more, so the length of your mat up and down. And then from there, once you've had enough of that, coming back into your forward bend, allowing yourself to hang. And if the forward bend doesn't feel like a restful position, you could walk the hands out to downward dog. You could lower the knees to a tabletop or a child's pose. Just finding a moment to let your tissues just be heavy. If your system has had enough and it's wanting to stay settled, then you're welcome to come into some more grounding positions. If you want to try one more piece of hopping, then there are some options. When you're ready, if you're adding one more element of hopping, coming up to stand. Now, options, you are welcome to work on cartwheels depending on the size of your space, whether or not you have room to do so. You could also experiment with the same hopping that we did forward and back on your mat, you decide. Or you could also work on a little hop towards handstand using the wall. And if you're hopping towards handstand, the hands will come down about shoulder distance apart, about 2 feet away from the wall. Feet will walk forward, transferring the weight again more over the arms and the shoulders, and then just pausing there. Maybe lifting a little higher onto the balls of your feet and feeling the shoulders, the arms, the wrists, the fingerprints, starting to absorb that weight. And you might stay there, maybe a little bend in the knees, maybe a little lift of the hips, and just responding to that shift, feeling your tissues. If you're feeling okay, then you might take the right leg up, and then the spring is your left leg. The right leg stays straight, the left leg finds a little spring, and it hops. And that right leg is just like a lever. It stays straight, and it's the springiness of the left leg that takes us up. If you go too far in your springiness, then you'll hit the wall and you'll come back down. And as you add these hops, can you really think of using the springiness of your landing, the springiness of your springing leg, to be able to make the lift and the lower a little smoother. And then from there, if you've been hopping, coming back, downward dog, forward bend, tabletop child's pose, whichever position will allow you to create that feeling of heaviness, of sinking, of softening in your tissues. And when you're ready, come into a legs up the wall position. You might slide your mat all the way to touch the wall. From here, bringing one hip against the wall, facing the side, hands come down behind you so that you can roll onto your back and swing your legs up the wall. You might keep a little bend in the knees. And taking a moment here just to let your body sink down. Softening through the back of your shoulders, finding a position for the arms that really allows the chest to start to soften down. And once your upper body feels heavy, really inviting the weight of your thigh bones to sink into the hip sockets. Using gravity here now. We'll spend a few moments in this shape as our final shape. If legs up the wall doesn't feel good for a length of time, you're welcome to come into Shavasana or another shape that feels restful. Allowing the weight of gravity, the soft weight of the air, soften your tissues, soften your bones. And then from here, when you're ready, inner line of the legs, if they're still up the wall, can come a little closer together. And then we'll bend the knees wide, letting the soles of the feet drop down the wall. And then from there, the hands can come down to the outer legs, And guide the inner thighs closer together. Taking a little squeeze in to center. And then from there, if you're still in that position with legs up the wall, knees bent in, you'll roll to one side. If you're in a different position, coming eventually out to find a comfortable seat. Legs could be crossed or extended out in front of you, whatever position feels comfortable. Eyes might soften or close. And when you're ready, breath in, pressing down on the legs, getting a little taller in your seat. And then as you exhale, joining the hands together in front of the heart. Taking an inhale, breathing the heart up into the hands. And as you exhale, nodding the chin down to the chest. The teacher in me bows to the teacher in you. Thank you for your practice. Enjoy the rest of your day.